Have you ever been this guy, hitting a container or a locker or something, and just wondering why nothing's happening? Well, the sprite needs to be flashing red for you to be doing damage, but there is still feedback when hitting this stuff. But in reality, I'm doing absolutely nothing to this locker, and that is not a good thing. Secure lockers, safes, and secure crates all have 75 health total, and they all share the same damage resistance. They share the structural metallic, which has a flat reduction of 10 against every single type of normal damage, but they take additional damage from heat, which can matter in certain circumstances, and they have reduced coefficients against structural as well. So, the very quick rule of thumb here, thankfully it's simple, since it has a flat reduction of 10 against everything, the only magic number you need to beat to actually damage a locker is 10. So if a weapon does 11 damage and say it's blunt, it'll do one singular damage. If it's a 11 structural damage, it would only do half a point of damage because, well, you're doing the one over the flat reduction, but there's a 50% coefficient reduction. Either way, there's no weapon in the game that only does 11 structural or something and no other type of damage. So what you're looking for is high individual damage or high structural damage above 10. Many of these items exist, most of them are free or very easy to acquire, so the Syndicate have access to a few good ones, but they can cost a lot of TC. But you might be thinking to yourself, well, what about like radiation damage, like uranium spear? Well, radiation damage does nothing to structures, so unfortunately, that will not be a good use here. The most common and probably the easiest weapon to get is a baseball bat. This, while wielded, actually does 15 blunt and 15 structural, so that means you'll be doing 7.5 damage to each one of these lockers, which means you'll break it in 10 hits or 10 seconds. That's not too bad, and again, making a bat is super easy. Literally anyone can do it with basically no tools. You could just break a light, get a few pieces of wood from maintenance or some chairs, whatever, and you can get through these lockers quickly. Salvage tools such as crushers, pickaxes, drills can really start doing some extra damage. A wielded pickaxe does 30 structural, while it only does 5 blunt, slash, and pierce, meaning you're not going to do any damage with those. You are, however, also going to be doing 7.5 damage a hit. So it's basically identical to the baseball bat, but the pickaxe is less contrabandy than a baseball bat, I guess. I mean, the contraband status literally tells you can't have a baseball bat. So in Wisden, the pickaxe is technically the better choice, but they're basically the same. The mining drill only does 15 structural. However, this auto swings, so you're only doing 2.5 damage a hit because the reduction, but you can swing really fast with it. PKAs are a great choice, but they're super loud. Crushers are great. I mean, let me just get the crusher out real quick. Even after the salvage damage nerf, a wielded crusher will still do a solid 30 structural and 2 damage of blunt extra because it has 12 blunt. So that actually makes it a better choice overall, but not quite. And it's harder to get, and you can't conceal it. So really, it's between the bat and the pickaxe. However, where you can get creative is using a spear. A wielded plasma spear, for example, actually does 22 pierce, so you'll do 12 damage a hit, which will break it faster than a bat. And if you can't get a hold of that, even a normal spear does 16 damage, so you still get through one of these lockers with 6 damage a hit. And just as a reminder, again, use anything that does over 10 damage. Even a toolbox, which will only do 2 damage a hit, will eventually get through it. So if you have time and you don't have any of these other options, you could do that. I would still probably just recommend making a bat. If you're already planning on breaking open a secure crate, you probably don't really care too much about having possession of a minor weapon because you're about to have possession of a greater weapon, presumably, or some high value target. Of the syndicates, the only real and good option you have is probably the energy sword or the cyber sun pen. The cyber sun pen is of course a weapon that is it breaks the damage threshold of 10. The pen does 15 damage a hit, so you technically can also chew through one of these with a lot of hits through that. The energy sword is by far just the best for this. The energy sword does 20 structural, so you're doing 5 damage a hit there, and then 5 additional slash, and then like 6 damage of heat. Like, I don't know how much it rounds exactly, but you can break through structures much faster with an energy sword, but that takes a lot of money. TC. So just for example, like I'm just gonna like use a Kamerer. A normal shot here, since the shotgun buff, they do actual structure damage over 10 hits, so you're doing the damage there. So you can literally walk up to a safe and chew through this thing like it's maybe not the fastest thing ever, but you can like one maggot with a camerer. If you already had a gun, you probably want to save the ammo. That is an option though, it's allowed. An even better option is the Python. If you just want to purchase the whole thing, it's only 4 TC. Since it's armor piercing, you can just shoot down a locker or safe in 3 shots. So you can actually destroy 2 in 1. So if time's of the essence and you just happen to want to purchase a Python in the first place, very, very fast. That's kind of really it. This isn't the most complicated thing ever. It's just explaining that you need to break through these things with the right damage threshold. Another item I can heavily recommend is the Suspicious Toolbox, because it comes with a ton of stuff in it. It is a toolbox. You can ditch it afterwards and not have a big TC cost, and it'll do 10 damage overall to all of the structures here. And even cooler about the toolbox, you can just loot everything that you break out immediately. Like, obviously, just empty the toolbox out, and it's like, oh, well, all these droids are mine, and you can take all the magazines and just leave. So you can literally suck up the fact there is ever anything there in the first place. I really can't believe people don't buy this thing more often, because the damage is incredible, and it's a toolbox on demand. You don't have to already be carrying it. You can just purchase it at the moment you are ready. Anyways, very long-winded video. Somebody might be questioning, well, what about suit storages? Suit storages are even weaker overall, so the same rule applies here. Just go for higher individual damage numbers. Like, I can just use something like the Suspicious Toolbox, and I can break through a normal suit storage pretty quickly. And again, if there's a suit inside or whatever, you're pretty much good to go. It's interesting that these do take more damage in general, but suit storages also have more health. They, instead of having 75 health, for whatever reason, suit storages actually have 200, so you are doing more damage per hit, but overall you might actually do more swings total. So that's why I say the rule basically is the same here for how you do the damage to it. And as you can see, I have broken it. So make sure you have the right tools at your disposal before you start breaking stuff. You can literally use something like a mop too. I didn't mention that, but even somebody as like a low as a janitor can get a weapon without any ability to break one of these, because it does 15 blunt, meaning you do 5 damage a hit. There's plenty of weapons out there, inconspicuous weapons, or you can work your way to a bat, or just use some TC to get through stuff quickly. Just examine your damage stats of your weapon before you start breaking.